Begin.
On the morning a child is crowned emperor, a prisoner earns his freedom with blood in an arena. By nightfall, the child is dead. The prisoner has been sent to make peace with an enemy king, and the general standing beside the throne has taken Rome for himself. Nobody in this story loses power because they are weak. They lose it because someone standing close enough to kiss them has already decided they are expendable. This is the Lost Legion, a grim little power struggle set in the last years of the Western Roman Empire. The title promises war, but the real battlefield is a border fortress, where every alliance comes with a hidden knife. August, 475 AD, Northern Pannonia. Rome is still a word people use with pride, but its edges are collapsing. The emperor in Ravenna is distant. The frontier is held together by tired soldiers, uneasy local rulers, and agreements that can disappear with a messenger, a purse of silver, or one dead ambassador. At the center of this fragile world is General Maximus Antonius Albanus, commander of the 10th Legion. Maximus has not been sent here as a reward. After a disastrous retreat from the Vandals in Africa, he was pushed out to this cold northern garrison, far from the imperial court. He is still dangerous, still respected by his men, but he knows exactly what he is to Rome now, a useful soldier kept at arm's length. His wife, Urbina Prima, sees the exile differently. To her, the frontier is not a punishment. It is a private kingdom with an army, a fortress, and access to the silver mines owned by her lover, Argos Sertorius. If Rome is too weak to notice them, then Rome is weak enough to be taken. Urbina has one final piece for the board, her son, Cassius Ricimer Albanus. Cassius is still a boy, spoiled enough to demand that a slave be punished for beating him at a game, and convinced enough of his bloodline to call himself emperor before anyone has placed a crown near his head. His late father was Flavius Ricimer, a name that still carries weight among Roman power brokers. Urbina believes that makes Cassius the perfect face for a coup. Her proposal is simple: replace the reigning emperor with Cassius. Let the boy wear the purple, while Urbina and Maximus rule as regents. Argos will provide the silver, their garrison will provide the soldiers. The rest will come from fear. Maximus does not applaud the plan.
Once the knife is drawn, it does not go back to the sheath.
He still speaks of duty to the emperor, and he mocks Cassius as a child who likes the sound of his own future title. While Rome's would-be rulers trade threats at home, Maximus is trying to solve the actual danger beyond his walls. A Gothic king named Valimar is gathering warriors to the north. Maximus does not have enough Romans to meet that threat alone, so he reaches for the people Rome usually calls barbarians when it needs someone beneath it. Tyrannus Maldrus is the leader of the Suevi. He is fierce, blunt, and newly married to Gisa, a woman of the neighboring Rugi people. Their marriage is meant to bind communities that have every reason to mistrust Rome and one another. Tyrannus wants something much less grand than Urbina's dream, a border where his people can sleep without waiting for the next raid. Maximus offered him a deal. The Suebi and Rugi would fight alongside the 10th Legion against Valima, and in return, Rome would protect them.
I and my people will be forever grateful to you and to your emperor. But I come to bring more than mere gratitude, General. I come to accept your commission in your legion as a centurion.
Tyrannus accepted the centurion appointment and promised to send his own warriors to the alliance. At the banquet, Maximus noticed that Tyrannus was someone who could be bought into an alliance, but wouldn't relinquish his dignity for it. Urbina noticed the same thing, and what she saw wasn't an ally, but a man she couldn't control. Before Maximus could even comprehend the surrounding chessboard, Urbina and Argos had already begun their move. They sent men to attack Suevi settlements. Houses were destroyed, people were killed, and Giza was captured alive. They deliberately left one survivor, because as long as there were living people to testify to the false story, a crime was easier to exploit.
Our village was destroyed. The Amals,
They've burned everything and killed many.
And what of Giza? She lives.
She was taken.
Tyrannus stood before Maximus, furious. His wife had been kidnapped, his people slaughtered, and he demanded 100 legionary soldiers immediately. Maximus refused, not because he doubted whether the attack had occurred, but because he refused to send Roman soldiers on a mission of revenge without preparation.
I do not make rash decisions based on emotion, and I certainly don't have them dictated to me.
For Tyrannus, Rome's promise of protection failed in its very first test. Maximus threatened arrest and labeled the rebellion treason. From that moment on, their alliance was nothing more than a name on paper. Urbina is delighted. She has not merely weakened a border pact, she has created the evidence needed to destroy it. A Suevi leader who demands justice can be called a rebel. A dead village can be blamed on rival tribes. A missing woman can be turned into a bargaining chip. In a collapsing empire, facts are less valuable than the person who gets to announce them first. Maximus makes his own mistake soon after. Valamar sends an ambassador, Lord Theobald, to the garrison. The message is an insult dressed as diplomacy. Valamar wants Maximus to abandon the Suevi, join a campaign against them, and accept Gothic terms in territory Rome claims to control. To make the threat personal, Theobald brings the corpse of Quintus Aurelius, the former commander of the garrison. Maximus refused to yield. He mocked Valamar and rejected the demands. However, after formal talks broke down, Maximus killed Theobald and ordered his body to be laid to rest outside the city gates.
Take the body and dump it outside the city gates.
When Urbina learns Theobald is dead, she does not panic. She sends Argos out with 200 weights of silver and a story carefully designed for the ears of powerful men. The money is meant for Orestes, a military strongman whose support could remove the current emperor and put Cassius on the throne. The story is meant for Valamar. Argos will tell the king that the Suevi murdered his ambassador under Maximus's orders. He will offer Giza as proof of good faith. Argos reaches Valamar's camp and lies with confidence.
Your ambassador, Lord Theobald, was murdered by his new ally, a Suevi, named Tyrannus Maldrus.
The Suevi, like pricks in my side. One of these days I'll get around to slaughtering a lot of them. Until then, I'll have to settle for the few that managed to sneak into my city.
Such an action would be blessed, even augmented with silver, as well as free passage through the high passes of the Empire and across the Danube. You would have free reign in all these territories.
Cassius, he says, will soon be emperor. Orestes will provide military backing.
As his first edict as emperor, Cassius will declare me head of the Northern Roman army. As his second edict, he will order the death of Maximus.
You seem to have thought of everything.
One word from you, and this whole fable can become reality. On the day I become commander, I will give you the Suevi bastard who murdered your ambassador. I can also give you the Suevi's wife as a gift now.
Valamar does not trust Argos, but he understands leverage when he sees it. He gives Rome 6 weeks to make the promised fiction real. Giza pays for the bargain before she ever learns its full shape. Valamar gives her to his nephew, Theodric, as a wife. The film does not need to show much to make the cruelty clear. Her body, her marriage, and her future are treated as property traded between men who never ask her what she wants. Back at their camp, Urbina began to mold Cassius into a ruler. It was an absurd and ugly performance. The boy had the captured Suebi and Rugi fight each other. He told them they could win their freedom by killing each other in arranged brawls, and then fighting trained gladiators for the amusement of the whole city. Cassius thinks he is showing strength. In reality, he is exposing how easily a child can become cruel when every adult around him calls cruelty leadership. Maximus watches all of it with an expression that is hard to read. He has stopped arguing with Urbina, but that does not mean he has accepted her as the author of the future. Cassius approached Tyrannus and offered him a role in the performance. He could fight as a gladiator. If he won, the captured Suebi and Rugi would be freed. Tyrannus added a condition. The deal must also include Giza. Cassius agreed, confident that the top gladiators from Ravenna would kill the exhausted prisoner in front of everyone. It is the first time in the film that Tyrannus is allowed to choose the terms of his own humiliation. He accepts, because there is no other path left. His freedom is not the prize. The lives of his people are.
Meanwhile, the coup advances.
Word arrives that the emperor has fled to Dalmatia. Urbina takes this as proof that their gamble is working. Orestes is now the ally she always wanted. Argos has delivered the silver, and Cassius is close enough to the throne that she can already hear the crowd cheering his name. She tells Maximus their wealth will become the foundation of a new Rome.
All right, wife. I will continue to support our sweet child for emperor and ourselves as regents.
Maximus finally appears to yield. He agrees to support Cassius as emperor and to rule alongside Urbina. It looks like surrender, but Maximus's version of the plan has never been identical to hers. Urbina wants a son on the throne and a husband she can direct. Maximus wants the throne to belong to the person strong enough to hold it. He has simply waited until everyone else has spent their loyalty, their silver, and their trust, making the road clear. The arena is opened before the coronation. Tyrannus fights the champion sent from Ravenna. The combat is brutal but cleanly motivated. Every wound is counted against the faces watching from the cells. Tyrannus survives. Then he wins. Cassius has no choice but to honor the public promise. The captives are released, and the people in the stands are forced to cheer the man they were told to hate. For one brief moment, Tyrannus has beaten the whole machine. He has escaped chains, saved his people, and made Cassius look small in front of the town. But he has not escaped the larger war. Cassius orders him to remain nearby for his coming coronation. That keeps Tyrannus in the fortress long enough to see who truly intends to take power openly. It sounds almost generous. It is also a way to send the one man who knows too much directly into the hands of the king, whose ambassador Maximus killed. At last, Cassius stands before the crowd in imperial clothing. Urbina gets the scene she has dreamed about. Priests speak. Senators nod. The boy answers the formal questions about defending the empire against enemies within and without. He has no idea that the most dangerous enemy is standing at his shoulder. Before the crown is formally his, Maximus asks Cassius for a favor. The general says it is his duty to the empire.
Make me your son, that I may better serve you. Adopt me, Cassius.
Cassius, eager to sound generous and powerful, agrees to anything. This request seemed utterly absurd. Maximus, older and more worldly, fully understood that with enough soldiers around, the law was nothing more than another weapon. Cassius accepted. The ceremony continued. Cassius Ricimer Albanese was proclaimed emperor. He barely has time to enjoy it. Within minutes, Cassius is murdered. The film leaves no room for doubt about who profits. Maximus steps forward, calls the dead boy's court a nest of traitors, and presents himself as the savior who survived their betrayal. The man Urbina hoped to control now takes the title for himself, Maximus the Good, Emperor of Rome. It is a betrayal inside a marriage. Urbina's son is gone. Her lover Argos has become unreliable. Her silver paid for a crown that Maximus now wears. When Maximus later announces that he has divorced Urbina, he does not sound angry or heartbroken. He sounds like a commander, striking an unnecessary name from a roster. Tyrannus is technically free, and Maximus keeps that promise. But freedom comes with an order to serve as ambassador to Valimar. Tyrannus leaves the garrison with Roman escorts, carrying a peace mission from the man who killed the previous envoy. He is walking into a trap, but it is the only road that might lead back to Giza. When Valimar met Tyrannus, Tyrannus told him that Cassius was dead, and Maximus had seized the throne.
And he sent you here to atone for the other murder. That of my ambassador. A crime that must not go unpunished.
I was in the garrison's dungeon accused of treason when that happened. But it is my word against all. As I heard it, your ambassador was killed by the very hand of Maximus himself, who now calls himself the Emperor.
Valimall responded with another truth. Giza had been sent to him by Argos as a gift and token. Suddenly, every piece of the conspiracy became clear. Argos used the Suebi to frame Maximus. Urbina used Argos to get close to Orestes, and Maximus used everyone to ascend the throne. Then Giza enters the room. She is no longer the woman Tyrannus raced to rescue. She has become Theodric's wife, and she is carrying another man's child. Tyrannus tells her that he still loves her. Giza answers with the most painful line in the story.
And sometimes life is stronger than any man's love.
She did not choose this future freely, but she has chosen to survive inside it. Tyrannus wanted revenge for her. Valimar told Tyrannus that he shouldn't let another man's lies determine his death. The Soviet leader was released. He could go wherever fate took him, and Valimar promised him that Argos would eventually pay for his crimes. The Lost Legion does not end with Rome restored. It ends with the idea of Rome exposed. Urbina believed blood gave her son a right to rule. Cassius believed a crown would turn him into a man. Argos believed silver could purchase dignity. Maximus believed power could be made clean by calling himself good. Tyrannus is the only one who begins and ends with the same goal: protect the people he loves. That is why the final image stays with him, not with the Emperor. Maximus has won the throne, but he has inherited every lie that built it. Tyrannus has lost his home, his marriage, and his place in Rome's plans. Yet he walks away with one thing the new emperor will never have: the ability to look at himself without needing a crowd to applaud.